Okay, so a couple of months ago now, I took one of Frenchbee's first flights from Miami direct to Paris. I know it's kind of a new airline and most people don't know it, so let me tell you what the experience was like. To set the stage, Frenchbee is something of a newcomer in the low-cost carrier transatlantic game. Although a few months ago I'd never heard of them, they're actually doing pretty good. They've got flights that go all over the US. We're talking Austin, Boise, Boston, Chicago, Dallas, Vegas, LA, Miami, New York, Orange County, Orlando, Palm Springs, Portland, San Diego, San Francisco, San Jose, Santa Rosa, Seattle, and apparently DC. So needless to say, if you're looking to travel to France, they might be a viable option. That said, I've only flown them direct from Miami to Paris, so let me tell you what the experience was like. Now, as I stated before, they're pretty much a no-frills carrier, and you're gonna pay for just about every add-on. Whether you wanna pick your seat, if you wanna bring an extra bag, if you want any food on the flight, you're gonna pay for it. The experience of booking online is fairly simple. I had a friend who had a little bit of trouble booking, but eventually she got it to work. But pretty much standard fare there. Now, when you arrive at the terminal in Miami, make sure that you arrive early. They fly out of the same terminal as Frontier, and if you've been to the Miami International Airport, you know that that is definitely not the sexiest terminal. It is no frills, hasn't gotten any love for a long time, and the lines were enormous. The staff didn't seem to be in any kind of a hurry to push people through, so if you got there too late, there's a real possibility that you could miss your flight just sitting in line. So definitely make sure to arrive even a little bit earlier than you would for a normal international flight. Once you got to the front, I saw a few people having trouble with the staff, but the lady that I spoke with was perfectly nice, got me set and sorted and ready to go in just a matter of minutes. Now, once you make it through security, inside the terminal that Frenchbee flies out of, there is virtually nothing to do. To be completely honest with you, the food options aren't very good. There's not much in the way of entertainment. Thankfully, the internet in the terminal does work, but if you're planning on getting a bite to eat before your flight, I would highly recommend that you do it somewhere outside the airport prior to arriving, because this terminal is not the one you want. And it's clear that the Miami International Airport has not invested in bringing more food options to this terminal. And to that point, Frenchbee is the kind of airline that if you're doing a long haul flight, I would encourage you to stop by either a convenience store or a grocery store prior to going and just buy some food and snacks for yourself on the plane. While they do have food options, you're likely gonna wind up paying more than you actually want to. Now, Frenchbee did something that I haven't seen before. Most airlines close the door about 15 minutes prior to boarding, maybe 10 minutes. Frenchbee makes it very clear by putting a huge sticker on your boarding pass that the boarding door closes 30 minutes prior to departure. So make sure that you're not lollygagging around in the terminal, that you're not getting your food, that you're not in the bathroom, because they will leave you. And their flight schedule isn't one that you can easily just jump on the next flight. You might actually have to wait a day or 2 days to get on the next flight. Now, once you're actually on the flight, the plane actually isn't uncomfortable. On my flight, the economy class was configured in a 3-4-3 configuration, which is pretty standard for transatlantic flights. And it looked like the upgraded cabin was configured in a 2-3-2. I sat in economy because I believe in saving money. To me, the flight goes to the same place in the same amount of time, and I'm someone who sleeps on flights, so not a big deal. It was perfectly comfortable. I wound up getting a bulkhead, which was perfectly nice. Unfortunately, my flight was not packed. Some no-frills airlines like Play don't even provide you entertainment on your flight. Thankfully, Frenchbee does. Now, the selection wasn't overly robust, so I would definitely advise you to download some movies on your iPad or phone or computer or whatever device you're using. But it was there. At this point, I can't recall if they gave you free headphones, but in general, the ones that they give you even on like Delta, United, any of the main carriers, aren't very good, so you're probably better off bringing your own. I did really appreciate the feature that you could watch various angles of the plane as it was departing during your journey and as it's landing. I thought that was a really nice touch. It's something I really only see on most of the Middle Eastern based airlines like Emirates and Qatar. A little bit after takeoff, service began. If you had pre-ordered a meal, it was delivered to you. And this is actually an area in which you probably should stay in your assigned seat or tell the flight attendant that you're switching seats so they can bring you your meal. On my flight, they did give water free of charge, which was a nice touch, but you had to pay for anything else, soft drinks, beer, wine, anything that you wanted. On this particular flight, I didn't take my own advice and pack enough snacks, so I did wind up buying something. And while we were over the Atlantic, the credit card machine did not work, so I had to pay in cash. But they did have change in whatever currency, whether I wanted to pay in euros or dollars. The staff overall was very nice and accommodating and spoke all the languages that you need pretty much fluently. The journey overall was very smooth and about what you would expect from a budget carrier. And in just a matter of hours, I was landing in Paris. So overall, would I fly Frenchbee again? Well, it kind of depends on the pricing. For my flight, I think I paid around $250, $300 for a one-way trip, which seems like a fairly good fare. Recently, I've seen the prices jump up to $600, $700, even $800. And at that price, I don't know that the value is there. There are some airlines out there I would tell you never to fly because the experience is just that bad, but Frenchbee is certainly not one of them. But as someone who's traveled the world as a digital nomad for the better part of a decade, I can say that if you can get it at the right price, the Frenchbee offering is certainly worth the value.